All right, a very warm welcome to everyone here. I have opened the door so that people are not getting disturbed with admission requests and all, so we are all sorted. Our session is about to begin. May I request all of you to please update your names on Zoom as it should appear on your CCU certificate. The program offers you 1.5 core competency CCUs. Please ensure the capitalization, any middle names, any last names, the way you exactly want it to appear on your certificate. Please update your names on Zoom because that's where we will be picking it up from. Anyone who stayed beyond 90% of the session is entitled to get the certificate. With that, the session is being recorded. We would love for all of you to keep your audio and video on. Keep yourself muted as long as you're not speaking. If you wish to speak, please unmute and speak. If you understand that you are speaking over people, just raise your digital hand and we will go in the order in which the hands have been raised. We do respect in case you choose to not turn on your video audio. Totally understand, but the idea is to have a very engaging conversation with Srikanth. As we are talking about Srikanth, I'm so glad he agreed to demystify the ICF core competencies for us, and we can see that based on the number of registrations, we were debating whether it is Srikanth or the topic itself, and we will see what has pulled in so many people. A little bit about Srikanth before I hand it over to him. Srikanth has over 20 years of work experience in the IT industry. He has served in senior positions at organizations like Samsung and Microsoft. He spearheaded the establishment of the subsidiary for Hayes PLC in India and grew it to over 500 plus employees spread across multiple locations. He has played a key role in setting up Samsung SDS in India and built a few product development teams too. After leaving the corporate world more than a decade ago, he has explored a few startups and consulted a few startups. During the pandemic in 2020, he started his full-time coaching business. He is the founder and head coach at Guiding Light Coaching Services, a firm specializing in personal and professional development through one-on-one and group coaching. He passionately mentors 200 plus aspiring coaches in the ICF credentialing journey. His primary focus is to support coaches in achieving their ICF credential through the portfolio path and building their coaching practice. Srikanth holds a BTech honors in Electronics and Communication Engineering from IIT Kharagpur and is an ICF MCC. With such an illustrious background, Srikanth, I hand over the mic to you. Please demystify the ICF core competencies for us.
Thank you, Shanti, for that beautiful introduction. My wife doesn't believe in such accolades, so and thank you again because you're recording this. I'm going to play this for her. Okay, so before I get into the topic, I just have a question for all of you. As a coach, what do you think is your primary role? Maybe you just want to put it on the chat box. Primary role of a coach. Yeah, I see one response. It's not a trick question. Listen. Okay. Right, provide a safe space, being present. Okay, all right. Okay, cool. So a lot of answers coming. Okay. Create a space. Okay. Cool. So let's demystify that for you. Yeah, demystifying ICF core competencies. So this is a topic that we are going to talk about, and I'm sure I'm just going to move to the next slide. All of you are familiar with this, but I still want to run through this. All of us go through 4 different levels of learning, and I want to bring it as a slide here and explain this to you because there's relevance for this particular slide. So all of us start with unconscious incompetence, where we don't know that we don't know. And then we move to a next level where we get to know that we don't know what we didn't know. and then eventually move to a level of we know that we know, and then finally we move to a level of competence become completely unconscious. The simple example that I give is that when I was a child, and I'm sure you can relate to what I'm going to share. When I saw an adult driving a four-wheeler, I thought all that you have to do is to sit in the driver's seat and keep steering the wheel and the car will move. Until I sat in the driver's seat and did that and the car did not move. And so that's when I realized that, oh, I didn't know that I didn't know. And then when I sat, I realized that, okay, this is what it is. And then when I became an adult, I went to a driving school. The tutor made me sit in the driver's seat and he said, okay, now put your seat belt. Look at the rear view mirror, adjust it, side view mirror, adjust it, and then take the key, put it in the ignition, press the clutch, bring the gear to neutral. Now you start the car, then release the clutch, release the handbrake, put it in first gear, car moves and all of that. So the step by step, we have to learn how to drive a car. Okay. So every time that you are learning something new, you have to learn step by step. Right? After a while, when you got used to driving or anything for that matter, it becomes part of your system and it becomes part of your subconscious and you can drive without thinking. And today, when we drive, if you've been driving for a long time, you will be on the phone talking to somebody, you're talking to somebody else on the left side, somebody at the back, you're multitasking because driving has become part of your system. Now, what I'm going to share with you here is that I have also embraced whatever that I'm going to share with you right now in this session to the same thing, right? When I first got introduced to coaching, my understanding of coaching was very different. Coaching is in a corporate world, you just give yarn to everybody, and that is what you think it's coaching. But then you get into a coach training program, and then the trainer says, "This is not what coaching is," and then you go through the process of unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence, and that is how I have whatever I'm going to share with you right now. That is how I have embedded. It took a long time for me, and I'm still evolving. So what I have done is whatever I have learned about coaching competencies, I have simplified it in a way that I can understand. And I'm just sharing with people who I am conducting coaching education and mentoring and all. That's what I'm going to share with you. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So far, if you have any question, just stop me and ask a question. So we'll make it interactive, then we'll move on. So far, so good. Okay, I'll take it as a yes and go forward. The human iceberg. I'm sure when you went through the coach education training with, it doesn't matter which institute you have gone through, somebody must have told you about this human iceberg. And I have taken this metaphor and gone a little deep with this, right? Okay. So this is how an iceberg looks like. Some portion is visible. Yeah. So if I use this as a metaphor, a human being, which is me or the client who's sitting in front of me, or for that matter, anybody, what I can notice about my client and what the client can notice about me is the actions and behaviors that we take and the behaviors that we demonstrate. Okay. Actions in the sense physical actions plus actions that we take otherwise. Behaviors that we demonstrate. Behaviors will be the way that we speak, the way that we emote, the way that we use language, body language, and so on and so forth. And the actions and behaviors are what produce results, produce outcomes, and help us to achieve goals. Okay. So this is what is the outer reality. This is what people see outside. Okay. For a naked eye, this is what is visible of a human being to the others. So this, I say, it's about 5 to 10% is what you can see of a human being, which is visible. The remaining 90 to 95% is not visible, just like an iceberg. What is not visible is so many things, and I have just put a few things that I can relate to. The inner reality, the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values, mindset, experiences, identity, inspiration, wants, needs, mental models, and so on and so forth. Maybe there are a lot more to this, I don't know. And then on the other side, we have inner resources, which are talents and strengths. Now, what is visible to a human eye I call it the doing of the human being. Okay. And what is not visible, I'm calling it the being of the human being. Okay. Now, I just want you to understand this. I want all of you to understand this very clearly. Now, let's assume that, I hope all of you can see me, right? Today, we have reached a place, whatever we have achieved as results, outcome, goals, is because of certain actions that we took in the past or we did not take in the past. Okay, that is what has brought us. So the actions and the behaviors, actions that we took and the behaviors that we demonstrated are based on some information that we had. Okay. So we had information, we made use of that information, and then got to the actions that we want to, the results that we want to get. Now, I got some results today. I took actions based on some information. So I had information, I took actions, I got results. So if I want better results, I need to take better actions, I need to have better information. Better information in the sense, the information is already there, I need to use it, or if I've used all the information that I had, I need to have new information. Right? So new information, new actions, new results. Right? So what I call, the other thing that I am calling is that when you have something new information, I am calling the new information as knowing. Okay. Let me just knowing. I put this knowing in the waterline because there is some knowing already you have, which you are not using. There's some knowing which is there with you perhaps, but it is invisible to you. And somebody has to put on a light and say, hey, this is what it is. Right? Now, the way that I look at the role of a coach, the role of a coach is to raise the level of awareness of the client. Okay. Enable the client to get a new level of awareness or new level of knowing or new level of information. That is the role of a coach. Okay. Now, this is a loop. The reason it is a loop is because today I'm here. Today I'm here because there are certain actions that I took in the past based on information that I've had, right? And if I want to go to a new place, right, I need to have new information and I have to take actions. So knowing has to translate into doing, then I become a new being. I want to repeat this again. In this place, I am a certain being because of the actions that I took based on some information I had. I'm a being here. Now, if I want to become a new being, right, then with the information that I have to take some actions. I'm actually doing and then getting into a place of a new being. So, getting a new level of awareness is not good enough. You have to take action and then the being will shift. This is my philosophy, right? So it's a journey. So once you reach a new place, you're not going to be happy being in that place. Again, you need to have a new knowing, a new doing, and a new being. It's a journey, right? If you have arrived completely and if you have got nothing to shift, that means you have attained nirvana and you don't need this session. All right. So far, so good. Perfect. So the role of a coach is to enable the client's new level of awareness. That's the way that I would like to look at it. Now, knowing is not good enough, as I told you. New level of awareness is not good enough. When the client gets a new level of awareness, you have to nudge the client to take some actions so that they can see results, right? So the primary role is to enable the client to reach a new level of awareness. And then the other role is to enable them to take responsibility for actions and then hold them accountable for those actions. All these three put together is the role of a coach, the way that I see it. Okay? Because the client is coming to you and investing the time and pay because they want to see results. You can't tell the client, okay, now my role is to help enable you get a new level of awareness. Now you sort out your life. It won't work. Okay. All right. So now this also, Johari window for self-awareness. I'm just going to briefly explain this to you, and then I'll tell you what is the role of coach now. In a coaching conversation, what happens is the coach and the client are in a space of not knowing. They're in this space. Okay. I hope you can see my mouse moving. I don't know whether you can see my mouse moving. Yeah. They're in this space, right? And this space has to increase. Now, I want you to visualize this. I want to visualize a human being. I used iceberg as a metaphor. Now, I want you to visualize a human being. Top of the head till the bottom of the toe, multiple draws, right? Draws, where they have all the answers to all the challenges they are going through in their life. Okay? They have all the answers, but they don't have access. Your role as a coach is to provide them access by opening those drawers. So the client comes with a problem saying that I got so many problems, but the client doesn't know they have answers, but you have to completely believe in the client saying that they have all the answers in them, and open a drawer and allow the client to see whether they have the answer in that drawer. If the client finds the answer, fantastic. That means they got a new level of awareness. If they have not got it, close the drawer, go open another drawer. Okay. You keep on opening drawers till the time the client has got all the answers in a coaching engagement or in a coaching session, right? Now, how do you open the drawer and allow the client to look for answers? One is the client will share something, and then based on what they share, you ask questions. And when the client will say something, when the client says something, that is the first time that they are hearing their own voice. Because you created a space and you're listening to the client so that they can hear the voice. When they hear their voice in their own words, they start making connections. Otherwise, when they are alone, there's a lot of mental chatter going on in their head. They are not able to hear their voice. They're not able to make sense out of their words because words are not coming up. Okay, so you allow that space. One is you ask questions and they share information. Based on what they're sharing, they make connections. The other one is when they're sharing information, you use that information with your own wisdom. If you make sense out of something that they're sharing, play that sense to the client, make an observation. When you make an observation, the client also will make a connection, right? Sometimes your observations may be right, sometimes it may not be right. So if it is not right, what it means is that you open the drawer, the client did not find the answer, you close and move on. Don't get attached to your observation if it is not correct. Don't get panicked. Hey, I made an observation. If you made an observation and the client said no, move on. And if you hold on to the observation, what will become is it will become judgment from yourself. Okay. So far, so good. Iceberg is done. 4 levels of learning is done. Iceberg is done. Johari window and self-awareness is done. Okay. Now let's go to the next slide, which is the coaching process. In the last, I've gone through a lot of coach training, neuroscience-based coaching and NLP coaching, this coaching, ontological coaching, this, that, so many models that are playing havoc in my head, and it was not helping me when I was sitting in front of a client. So what I did is I simplified the coaching process. What is the coaching process? There are only 3 stages. What are the 3 stages? Agreement. Okay. Agreement is first for the entire engagement. And then once that is established, you look at an agreement for a session. Session by session, you look at an agreement. What I'm going to show you is a very linear thing, but in an actual session, it may not happen linearly, but I'll explain that. I'll demystify this for you. So you establish an agreement. That's the beginning of a coaching conversation. Once you have fully established an agreement, you move to the next stage of awareness. Okay? Where you're allowing the client for exploration. When a client has got a new level of awareness, depending on the time that you have in the hand in the session, you can go deeper in the awareness, or you can take that awareness and enable the client to move to actions. Okay? This is the process. What happens in an agreement? These are certain things happens in an agreement. Yeah, I'll just spend a little bit more time on the agreement so that you get a very clear picture as to how I'm demystifying each competency. And then we are looking at awareness. In the awareness, what happens? Go below the surface. So above the surface is all about doing. Okay. You go below the waterline, go below the surface, you can explore the client's inner reality and the inner resources. And that will enable the client to get a new level of awareness. When the client gets a new level of awareness, you move the client to actions. Okay. So in the action stage, what happens? You identify the actions, the client will design the actions, you help the client to narrow down on the actions, and then define timelines. Look at resources that the clients can leverage, look at the support system that the client can create, and all of that, and allow the client to take actions. So this is simply the coaching process. And as I mentioned to you, this is linear for a beginner coach. Okay. And I just put it linear for a beginner coach to understand. I'll also tell you what all can happen using this process. Now, I want you to, I just want you to look at this, and I'm going to just invite for some discussion. The coaching process is like this. I believe this metaphor I drew because if Subhash is there, I just want to give credit to Subhash on this metaphor. In one of the LinkedIn posts, Subhash has mentioned about a person taking the dog for a walk. For me, that stuck, right? In a coaching conversation, right, the client is always leading the conversation. Just like in a dog walk, the dog is leading the walk and the person who is walking the dog is following. Yeah, Subhash is taking the dog for a walk, right? The person who is taking the dog for a walk is thinking that the person is taking the dog for a walk. In reality, the dog is taking the person for a walk, right? It will go wherever it wants to go. And when it goes to a place which the dog is not supposed to go, the person who is walking the dog will use that leash to pull the dog back and put it on track. So the leash in this metaphor is the process. So coaching is equal to process. Okay. Now, I will take one competency and I'll just break it in a way that you can understand. The way that I have demystified each competency and embedded in my system and my subconscious, I'm going to just share that with you and then see how it sticks with all of it, right? Okay, now let me go back to the whiteboard. Where is the whiteboard? Okay, just a minute. I need the whiteboard.
Do I have to make you the co-host,
No,
Srikant?
no. I can
It will
share.
appear.
No, I can share. I can share. Yeah, absolutely. Just give me a minute. Okay. I hope all of you can see the whiteboard. Yeah. Can see the whiteboard? Perfect. All right. So, right. So this is the agreement, awareness, and action. Okay. Agreement. Pardon me for my handwriting. It's terrible. So this is linear. So when you start as a beginner coach, this is where you are. Okay. The reason I'm saying you follow the process linear, it's like learning to drive a car. Okay. Once you have learned to drive the car at an advanced stage, what you will notice is while the agreement is being established, you will also see some awareness happening for the clients. Okay, they're overlapping. Okay. Maybe the client also start talking about a few actions in that stage. At an expert level, you will see the agreement and awareness and actions all put together is like superimposed. But for you to reach a stage here, both the client also has to be very, very self-aware. So they're able to do the dance with you so that you just sit there, ask a couple of questions, maintain silence, pauses, and all that. This will happen, right? But we will not get there. We will just talk about this for a moment. Yeah. Okay. So, what is the agreement in a session? Very simple. Okay. Now, the client comes to you in current state. Okay. By end of the session, the client has to reach an end state. This is the end state. Now, there's certain things that you need to establish as an agreement. You need to ask the client, okay, client, you are here now. Where do you want to be by end of the session? First question. By end of the session, by end of this session, where would you like to be? Where would you like to be? Okay. The client will say, I'm here now, I want to go here. The second question that you will ask is, by end of the session, how do you know that you have reached where you want to reach? End of the session. How do you know you reached? No, you have reached wherever you want to reach. Reached. Right. Now, the third question that you will have to ask is, okay, so you are here now, you want to reach here. You know how we are gone there also. So far, what has made you not to go from here to here? Right? Before you came to my session, also you have the option of going from here to here, but you're not gone. So what could be the reason? The reason could be something is holding you back. Okay, something is holding you back, or something is keeping you here, or something has to pull you here. Okay. Now you need to find this. Either this, or all of it. So for us to go from here to here, what are a few areas that we need to focus, focus in this session, right? Yeah, I'm emphasizing this word session again and again because a lot of coaches don't do that. Okay, now these 3 questions have been asked. Okay. Now, the 4th question is, if you move from here to here, what will you get? What will that bring you? What will this bring you? This bring you, give you all of that. Okay. So you want to go from here to here. So there must be a reason. So let's find out what is the reason that you want to go from here to here. That is this. And remember the last one. There's limited time. There's limited time, right? Either 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. You have to mention the time and make sure that you are on track. You are on track. Once in a while in the session, keep checking with the client whether the client is moving from here to here or not moving from here to here. You are on track. Okay? Right. Now, the way that I have simplified this is with an acronym. I'll just tell you. I call it, till about yesterday, I called it SMART. Today, I'm calling it something else. I'm calling it T-SMART. And I'll tell you the reason. First is you have to mention the time available to the client. Time available. Because if you and your client do not agree on the time, then you can go around and around. Okay, client. Today we have 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, established upfront. Then the question is, in this time that we have together, what is that specifically you want to goal or outcome? What is that you want to specifically take away? What would you like to achieve by end of this session? What would you like to accomplish by end of the session? What would you like to take away from the session? Okay. And then the next question is measure of success. Measure of success is, how do you know that you achieved what you wanted to achieve? How do you know that you have accomplished what you have accomplished? How do you know that you took away what you want to take away? That is a measure of success. A is areas that need to be focused. Okay. I'll spend a little bit more time on the areas to be focused. And the R is reason or the relevance. Okay. Right. T is here. Are we on track? Are we on track? coaching conversation is on track. This is what it is, right? Now, when you start as a beginner coach, just make sure this one and this one is stated upfront. And after you have agreed on the outcome, this can happen in any sequence. Okay, this can happen in any sequence. But when you start, just follow the sequence. Reason, you're learning to drive a car. When you're learning to drive a car, start the car in neutral, then first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. Once you have mastered how to drive a car, you can start the car in first gear, you can start it in reverse gear. From first gear, you can go to third gear. From first gear, you can go to fourth gear. From third gear, you can go to fifth gear. All that you can do. But while you're learning, stick to the steps, and that's why I call the process. Okay. Now, let me explain this thing area to be. Okay, let me also go a little deeper and talk about establishing an agreement. The agreement has to be established at two levels. One is, I'm just going back to the iceberg, at the doing level and at the being level. Okay. So doing level is your S and the M. What is that you want to achieve by end of the session? How do you know that you have achieved? At the doing level, right? And I also call this at the head level. And then you have to establish the goal at the being level. That is your relevance. Okay, R. Significance. What does this mean to you, right? If you achieve this goal, what does that mean to you? What does that give you? And all of that, right? Now this A, this A can happen at, this is the head, this is the heart, okay? Right. Now, the A can happen at two levels. One at the doing level and one at the being level. Okay, the doing level can be like this. And here, I want to go here, okay? Right. So there are certain things in the way. Okay, well, I need to address these things so that I can go from here to here. Or there are certain things which are here. I need to release all of this so that I can go from here to here, right? Now this I call it, because you're doing this one, it's around the actions, I'm calling it the doing level. Being level will be about exploring their belief, the thoughts, feelings, all of that, beliefs, values, all of that. And then dig deeper and go. So if the client is stuck at the obstacles at the doing level, get them to go underground. Let them create some paths using their beliefs, values, thoughts, feelings, and all of that, and then break, go underground and go to their destination. So this is what I mean by addressing things at the beginning, right? Now the thing is, if you have not established the goal at a being level, it is very difficult to do an exploration with the client. Then what will happen is you will have to just work on the doing level, and your entire coaching. Subhash has a problem with this. He says there's nothing called transactional coaching. So you will end up doing things at a very surface level. What will happen is you as a coach, because the client said, by end of the session, I want to walk away with this, you will start pushing the client towards that particular action without the client having a new level of awareness. You will end up starting asking leading questions, push your agenda, and all the suggestions, recommendations, all of that will happen. Okay. All right. So far, if you have questions, please ask questions. I'll clarify that and I'll move to the next one.
Srikant, you said that it is important to, I wanted to repeat that statement again.
What is it?
You said something like this, the client will not move it to the being level. If you don't do something and it is important to do it, I just missed that.
Okay, yeah. So the two questions that you're asking, what is that you want to take away? What is that you want to achieve? What is that you want to accomplish? Is a question at a head level. It's a doing level question. Okay. Now the doing level question, if it doesn't, it's a head level question. If it doesn't go to the heart, it's very difficult to explore the client's being. So you move that head level question to the heart by asking, what does this mean to you? If you are able to achieve this goal by end of this session, what will that give you? What is the meaning of that particular goal for you? So if you're not moved the goal from the head to the heart, then you're going to struggle. Yeah, Ramesh.
Yeah. So Srikant, my concern is that if you look at the coaching process, it's excellent. So compliments to you for using such simple language. The doubt I have is that when you start off and you reach the agreement, say with a new client, not about the session, but the entire engagement, and then move to the session, and then go to exploration. Now, when you go to exploration, as you rightly said, it's important not to be superficial. It's important to go down below the surface and explore what's there, what's over there. And there are clients who come with one overarching objective, but then within that there are 4 or 5 different things that they need to build awareness on. So my question is that when we say that, by the end of this session, what would you like to achieve? Many times the awareness itself takes time to uncover. Sometimes it may extend into the next session as well. So in between, there may be awareness actions before you can come to think of closing, the whole thing. So how do we avoid the danger of coming to, because the client said something, I want to be here by the end of this session. At that stage, he may not even have full awareness. That's where as a coach we need to explore. So isn't it premature to ask the client, where do you want to be at the end of this session without proper exploration?
Great question. I'm going to answer that to you, right? Now, remember, you have limited time in a session. It could be 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And that's the reason I'm telling in the limited time that we have. If the client is saying so many things, you have to play back to the client saying, hey, client, I'm hearing you say A, B, C, D. In the limited time that we have, if you have to prioritize one out of these 4, which one would you like to pick and explore? Okay. Okay. And also remember, the client says, I want to go by end of this session, I want to achieve this. That is the client's agenda. That is not your agenda. You stick to the process. You stick to the process and see whether it is emerging. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, your role is to enable the client reach a new level of awareness. It is your role. It is not your agenda. Stick to the process. If you stick to the process, it will happen, right? I have a thumb rule. You can use the thumb rule. It may work for you. In a 30 minutes conversation, 1/3 of the time, I will take 1/3 of the time to establish an agreement. That means 10 minutes. If 10 minutes is not enough, I will take 15 minutes, means half the time. If 15 is not enough, I will take 20 minutes, 2/3 of the time. Because when I am establishing the agreement, there's a lot of exploration also is happening. So that is where I said the agreement and the awareness is actually getting overlapped. A beginner coach may not realize this is happening when I am doing a conversation like that. But an experienced coach will realize it. Okay. Now, when this is the important thing, right? I keep telling, hey, in a 30 minutes conversation, in 10 minutes, you do a check-in. Hey, client, we started this conversation here, and you said by end of this session, you want to be here. Where are we right now? Let the client say. Sometimes the client will say, I don't know. Don't take the pressure on you as a coach. I also don't know. What shall we do in the remaining time that we have together? Partner. The moment you take the pressure on you, it has become your agenda. The moment the coaching conversation has become your agenda, you have lost the plot. I hope I have answered your question, Ramesh. If you're not answered, please ask me. I'll answer.
Yeah. I got what you're saying, Srikant. However, the doubt still persists that somewhere in the beginning, we ask the client, where do you want to be at the end of the session? So in a way, we are kind of asking him to say something without full awareness. At the end of the session, when you're doing the checkout, the danger is that, he may feel I've not reached there. We are nowhere,
Ramesh, okay. I think I got what you're saying. Okay. I'm telling, this is for the beginner, right? So if you have started coaching already, you don't ask the first question, what is that you want to achieve in the session? First question that you will ask is, what is that you would like to explore? What is that you want to discuss? All of that. Take that time to do the exploration. I hope you understand what I'm saying, right? That is not my first question. But what I'm saying is to come to an agreement, you need to have all of this. If you have all of these 5 components there in an agreement, then you would have established a very tight agreement. I hope I answered it.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, perfect. Now what we will do is, see, I'm a person, I don't like markers. I hate markers. They're very confusing, okay? If for ACC you have bars, MCC you have bars, and EPC you have markers, it confuses the heck out of me. So I just simplified. I'm going to show this to you. Right. So I've just taken the establishing the agreement bit straight from the source. This is what it is. If you go to the core competencies, competency number 3 establishes and maintains agreement. There are 11 sub-competencies. Okay. Out of the 11, first 5 belong to the overall coaching engagement. The last one is for the overall engagement. And one in the middle from 6 to 10, it is for a session. Right? I want you to take some time, reflect on this, all these 5, and then map it to the acronym I gave, T-SMART. And let me know whether you are able to map all of this to the acronym I gave. And if you're not able to map, then I will tell you how to. Okay. Maybe take a screenshot or go to the original core competencies and have a look at it. This is a screenshot from the website. Yeah, Naval, please ask. Go ahead and ask.
Hi, Srikant. First of
Yeah,
all,
Naval.
thanks for taking us to this wonderful session.
Right.
One thing which you were just mentioning when Mr. Ramesh was sharing across is you said 1/3 of the time, then 2/3 of the time we are taking to establish the client's goal over there. Now, assuming we have a 30-minute session and still with 2/3 of the time, the goal is not established, is it justified to extend it and we wind up the session without any exploration just to figure out on the goal of the client, and we say, okay, we will reassemble or we'll meet again on that? I want you to put some thoughts on that as well.
Okay, great question. Ask the client, hey client, we have only 30 minutes. Looks like we have not come to an agreement. What is that you would like to do? Let the client tell.
Okay, so we are already establishing it's 30 minutes, and if he says I would like to continue,
Yeah.
and we
So
are there for 30 minutes
there
only.
are two things. There are two things. One is if you think that you can give some allowance of time, maybe another 10 or 15 minutes, you can do it as a coach. Or you can say, because we are running short of time, let's pause this for now and let's pick it up in our next session.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So all those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, how many of you could not map it to the T-SMART acronym that I put? If you're not able to map it, then I will help you with that. Okay, so looks like everybody got it right. Okay, chalo, now that everybody has got it right, so this is one competency that I took and I have simplified it and I embodied it, and this is the way that I teach people who I do coaching, education, mentoring. So for all of this, I have simplified with an acronym and all of that. So Rachel knows. Okay, now let's go to, yeah, so this is done. We'll go to the next slide. Okay. Okay, integration of the ICF core competencies, the way that I have internalized, the way that I teach, I'm sure you'll be able to make some sense out of it, right? Okay, now we are going back to the coaching process. Agreement, awareness, and actions. Now, these are the 3 stages, and I already told you that this necessarily doesn't have to happen linearly. Only for a beginner, I'm going to teach linear, but after that, if you're an advanced thing, everything can happen like the way that you're driving a car once you become an expert, right? Okay, now tell me, which competency of all the 8 competencies contributes majorly to this stage of the agreement? You can voice it out or put it in the chat box.
Competency 3.
Competency 3. Okay, perfect. So competency 3 majorly contributes to the agreement. Which competency contributes majorly to the next stage of awareness?
I think it's 7.
7. All right. Which competency majorly contributes to the 3rd stage actions?
8.
8, right? Okay, perfect. All right. Now, for all these competencies to take place, to contribute to these stages, there are 2 more competencies which happens in tandem. What are those 2 competencies? It's not a trick question.
Presence and safety.
Presence and
Safety.
okay, safety is one. What is the other one before presence? Yeah, presence is also important.
Listens actively.
Fantastic. So we have listens actively on one side, trust and safety on the other side. For all this to happen in a coaching session, what competency contributes majorly?
Presence. Not so.
Fantastic. Presence, right? Now, all of these to take place, there is one competency which the coach has to be strong. Which competence is that?
CC2.
No. Coach's mindset.
Embodying a coaching mindset. And then I have the umbrella competency called the demonstrating ethical practice. Okay. This is how I have understood, simplified, and integrated the core competencies. Now, I gave an example of establishing and maintaining agreement. how I went to the source, picked up the sub-competencies, how I internalized it using smart acronym. Like that, for every competency, I have internalized using a smart acronym. That is how I have integrated and embodied ICF competency. So when I teach and mentor aspiring coaches and coaches who want to move through the credentials, I don't allow them to look at the markers. So the moment they start with the markers will start sitting in their head, their presence will go for a whack. And I completely don't do that. Okay. All right, so this is the final thing. And then one last slide I have, I'll show that, finish it, and then we have some 30 minutes for a discussion. If you want me to go back to the slides, we can go back to the slides. Okay. So this is the core. The coaching process is the core, right? Agreement, awareness, actions. On one side, we have trust and safety. On the other side, we have active listening, and then coaching presence, coaching mindset, and coaching ethics. Right. We have half an hour left. I can take questions, or if there are no questions, then maybe 15-20 minutes I can do a live demo on establish an agreement. Whatever works for you, I will do.
Just give them a minute to see if there are any questions.
Yeah.
Ritul, go ahead.
Hi, Srikant.
Yeah,
My
Ritul, how
question
are
was,
you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, my question was related to that leash metaphor that you used. You spoke about there are certain areas where we have to prevent the client from going. That's how we're using the leash. Through my personal experience of coaching clients, I've realized that at times we may end up applying judgment which goes beyond what we should be preventing the client from going. Like, oh, this, like, it's a fine balance that I have felt that sometimes I can stop someone from going to a place which was not my thing to do. How do I manage that judgment is my question. And
I'll answer that. At an overall engagement level, you may want to establish this thing that, hey, in a session, if I feel that you are going round and round on a question that I'm asking you, I will raise my hand and interrupt you. Okay, agreement. Or in a session, when you start the session, you have to say, hey, this is going to be confidential. You can share whatever you want to share. And if there are questions that I'm asking, and if you're uncomfortable responding to those questions, feel free to say that. Also, if I feel that you're going off track for whatever reason, I will interrupt you by raising my hand. Okay. Now, in a conversation, if you feel the client is going all over the place, on the message, hey, client, I'm getting the sense that we are going all over the place. If you say, hey, client, you are going all over the place, that's a judgment. Own. I'm sensing we are going all over the place. What are you sensing? Let the client say, no, I'm not going all over the place. I'm on track. Then ask the client, when you say you're on track, how are you on track? Yeah. Yeah, some questions in the chat box. No questions. Yeah, no questions.
If there are no questions, Srikant, let's get on to a demo.
Okay, I need a volunteer. 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. It can be 15. I need a volunteer. Whoever wants to volunteer.
There's a
Do
question.
you
in the
have a
chat.
structure for exploring the who of the client? Yes, the who of the client has to be explored below the waterline, whatever I mentioned you. Explore their thoughts, their feelings, their values, beliefs, their mental models, their wants, needs, motivation, inspiration. You can become anything and explore in the moment. Whatever the client is sharing. Yeah. Okay. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer.
If you want to be not recorded, I can pause the recording so that it's, yeah, we don't publish the coaching demo.
Yeah.
That is also possible.
I can volunteer.
Okay, so Sunita is volunteering. All of us can go off video. Sunita, are you okay this to be recorded or you don't want it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
she's okay.
I'm
So
okay.
Shanti, we can record it. Perfect. Right. Okay, so just give me a minute. How much time do I take, Shanti?
You can take 20 minutes.
20 minutes outer limit, yeah? Okay, all right. Just give me a minute. Sanyog, you will have to go off video. Gopal Gubbi also have to go off video. Shanti, can you switch off Gopal's video? Yeah, okay. Hi, Sunita.
Hi, Srikant.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Feeling better today.
Feeling better today. How was your weekend?
Weekend was fine, but I was not too well. Just zipped by very fast.
How are you feeling now?
Feeling good now that I'm here in this session. So many reminders. I'm feeling good.
Sunita, we are in a session where so many people are watching us. More than 70 people are watching us. I want to let you know on behalf of all of them, this conversation will remain confidential. If I ask you questions, if you are not feeling comfortable, you can refuse not to answer those questions. And if I feel that you are deviating from the question, I will raise my hand and pause you as a sign of interruption. We have about 15 minutes to 20 minutes outer limit. What is that you would like to explore?
So from the last 2 days, I'm not able to sleep well. It's like I'm feeling very restless and it's very unusual. Of course, there's a lot of system level changes that are happening. But then it's like a little unusual for me, the kind of restlessness that I'm feeling. I'm just waking up and sitting and just staring into the blank space. And I'm not able to wake up in the morning fresh. Feel very fatigued and tired, and like even when I wake up, it takes me an hour for me to just become normal, like get to a normal state of being.
I heard these words, restless, unusual, and the phrase normal state of being. What do these mean to you?
It's like I'm so used to waking up early by 4:45, 5, and then there's this sudden phase that comes in which doesn't allow me to do that. And it's sort of new for me, and I don't feel very comfortable when I'm in this phase. Also, this time it seems a little new, the way my system is kind of, I don't say behaving. It seems a little new.
What is making you feel it is new?
Because it's never happened earlier.
While you're sharing this with me, Sunita, how are you feeling?
I feel a little bit relieved because I'm able to talk about it.
How would you like to feel when you leave this session after about 15 minutes?
One is a little more lighter. I'm happy. It's not that I'm not happy, but just maybe a little more relief or just feel more lighter about this.
Lighter and relieved. And what do these words mean to you?
There's more acceptance of this newness. Sometimes I notice that anything new kind of makes me feel at discomfort. So there's that initial period which sort of makes me not very comfortable. So there's a period where I take to settle in, and kind of, even if I'm meeting somebody new, it's like that. If I build a good rapport, then it's different. I think it's about, yeah, that I don't know what it is between me and the newness or anything new. It feels a little, uh, it feels a little different. It's not that I'm not at all comfortable, but then, yeah, depending on the person, the other person, the energy of the person, or depending on the energy of the situation, also kind of feel it's different for me.
I'm hearing this word newness, whether it's a person or a situation, it is causing discomfort.
Yeah. But that discomfort, it's not very high. It's very unseen, like it's there somewhere. It's not like it is very evident. It's at a conscious level. It's just there somewhere deep, somewhere.
what would you like to do with this discomfort?
I mean, I know that it will settle down, and it's always happened. Like, I've had these kind of new situations or meeting new people. Sometimes it felt little different, but then I've always settled in. So what I'm getting is that while I'm dealing with this new kind of experience, it's just that I have to be with it. I mean, I'm somewhere getting impatient, I think. Mm, it's impatience, and also it's like I have so many things to do, so many commitments, and then this thing comes up and it's not allowing me to do what I want to do. So I think it's also arising from that space of the things not that I want to do, I'm not able to do.
The things that I want to do and I'm not able to do. And I'm also hearing this word impatience. So we've been on this conversation for about 10 minutes. Where are we on this conversation right now?
I feel like I have a knowing that, okay, there is the situation and I have to accept it and kind of be able to give myself some time. Sometimes I feel I'm like just over ambitious and I pack too many things into my day. And when things are not done, I feel like, oh, I couldn't do this. So I feel like we're moving towards what I was looking for, because even as I'm sharing with you whatever is coming up, I feel a sense of, relief, and I feel like we are moving in the direction where I'm becoming aware of certain things, like the impatience thing just came up, right?
I really want to appreciate the fact that you're able to recognize that you're becoming aware of a few things. So in the remaining time we have, Sunita, what would be a meaningful takeaway for you by end of this session?
So somewhere I feel like I'm not still 100% able to accept whatever is going on. So if I could move towards accepting the situation a little more by the end of the session or this conversation, I think it will be helpful for me.
What will tell you that you are making progress towards that?
I will just know it in my system, that I have this feeling of lightness. I feel lighter than how I am feeling right now. I feel more relieved. And if I just sit with this question, okay, is there 100% acceptance or not, I would know that, okay, it is there. So I would just know it in my being.
I would just know it in my being. Right now, in this moment, what's your being telling you?
There's still that impatience lurking somewhere around. And if you could kick that out, it will be helpful for you.
There is some impatience. If you kick that out, it will be helpful for you. From this stage right now, or the stage that you want to reach with acceptance, what are certain things that we should be focusing to get from here to there?
I think it's a period of change and mixed with something new, mixed with being in an environment which I'm not usually in. And I've been here for a very long time at my mom's house. So it's also that there's so much happening here that contributes to the impatience that I'm having. Like I was just sharing, my grandmother's out of her room and she sits on the TV with full sound.
Right. So when you walk out of this session, if you're able to reach the state of acceptance,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you walk out of this session, if you're able to reach that state of acceptance, how would your life change overall?
I think overall there'll be less that restlessness and less impatience, or rather the impatience won't be there anywhere to be seen. And when there's acceptance, I'm more able to focus on what really needs to get done.
And what does acceptance mean to you?
I feel like it is something that makes me just be me, just happy and joyful. Somewhere, sometimes I find myself getting a little impatient, irritated. Yeah.
So with all this information that you shared, happy, joyful, sometimes I get impatient, irritated. Where do you want to start, Sunitha?
It's being aware that there is impatience, and there is a need for me to move towards 100% acceptance. I think helps me to focus on these areas. So as we are speaking, what I'm realizing is that these are not arising from somewhere else, it's arising from me. And of course, external situations can always vary and they can challenge me. And but whenever there has been a challenge, I've also learned out of those situations. And what I'm realizing is that I've become very good at moving towards more acceptance in many areas of my life. So maybe this is also something that I will eventually move towards. And it's just a matter of time and nothing else.
It's a matter of time and nothing else. So we are pretty much running short of time. we got a couple of minutes. If you have to summarize this entire conversation for yourself in less than 1 minute, how would you like to do that?
I feel like we started talking about the aspect of newness and impatience kicked in later on. How this newness kind of causes a little bit of discomfort within me, which is very unconscious, not at a conscious level. And then we move to discovering that there is impatience that's getting created, and because of that, there's no acceptance. And now eventually we've moved to a stage where we uncovered that, I mean, we recovered and I realized that it is coming from within me and I need to give it some more time. There goes the impatience and more acceptance comes in.
I really want to appreciate for putting your hand up and be willing to be coached amidst so many people who are watching us and making yourself vulnerable as well. How are you feeling now, Sunita?
Feeling good, very good. Thank you.
Wish you all the best. You're welcome.
Thank you, Srikant.
Thanks, Sunita, for volunteering, and thanks, Srikant, for the amazing coaching conversation we had to witness right now. Appreciate that. We can wait for people to have asked their questions, but I know Ram had put a question in the chat that didn't get answered. Ram, do you want to ask the question?
Yeah, Shanti, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, Srikant, thanks a ton for simplified, very nice way of putting things across. My question was about exploration of client's goal. So when a client starts with a certain goal and during exploration, if based on that awareness, they come up with a new goal, which could be a finer state of the initial goal, which they mentioned. How do you deal when that change happens or when that?
Yeah. This has happened to me many times, Ram. In a 30 minutes conversation, we agree on a session goal. And when you ask for the measure of success, the client changes, saying that, hey, no, this is not what it is, because they got a new awareness. And then they change it to a new session goal. And you ask for a measure of success, they change it again. And then you ask, they change it again. It's perfectly fine. Right? It's perfectly fine. But if you can hold the client accountable to the time that you have in hand, that's the reason I keep nailing on this time again and again and again. You have to keep reminding the client, hey, the limited time that we have, what is that you want to achieve? What is that you want to? Yeah. That's the only way to do it, I guess.
Okay, so when the client comes up with a finer goal, we go towards the final goal as per their requirement, right?
Absolutely. Okay. It's their agenda, right? Their agenda.
Yeah. Thank you.
Or you can also challenge, right? Hey, client, I heard you say in the beginning, this is what you want to take away. Right now, I'm hearing you saying this. What exactly do you want to take out of this conversation?
Okay, put the choice in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Sri.
Srikant, Binita has an interesting comment in the chat. She says, your client is articulate. Sometimes clients do not share so many thoughts. What do you have to say about that?
Trust the process. Trust the process, because when you started as a coach, you also didn't believe, you thought coaching is whatever, and then you have to keep on practicing to a stage, active listening, coaching presence, asking questions and all of that. When a client comes to you, they will not be able to tune into you immediately. You have to trust 3 sessions, 4 sessions, 5 sessions. If you stick to the process and trust the process, the clients will start syncing with you. That's the reason it is very important to have patience and trust the process.
Anyone
Yeah,
want to
Kenneth,
go
you put your
next?
hand up.
Yeah. So I think as I was observing the conversation, Srikant, I could see you as a coach taking long periods of silence, and you could see that there was something happening within you internally. Could you talk us through your process as you sort of
Sure.
hear what
Absolutely.
Srikant to share? Yeah.
Absolutely. This is very important. When the client is speaking, I'm only listening. When the client is sharing information, I am receiving. Once the client has stopped speaking, I take that information, I process. When I process, I get a lot of questions, maybe 3-4 questions in milliseconds, and I look at a question where I can explore the being of the client, right? Once the client has finished speaking and immediately ask, if I ask a question, that essentially means while the client was speaking, I was processing, I was multitasking, I am not present.
Very true. I think that also was seen in, there was a period in between where I think there was some disturbance at Smita's end, and you could see that that helped you even not sort of get fluttered. I just sort of put myself in that situation. I thought as a coach, I'd have perhaps had something to say, saying, do you want to move to another place or something like that? But I saw you sort of not being perturbed by it. I think that helped you buy the time also to be able to just process what she shared.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
Some
Thanks.
messages on the chat box. Are they asking questions? Or?
No, they're all in awe of the demo. Kudos to Sunita and you. Yeah, Ridul, you want to go ahead with your question?
Yeah. So one more question today, Srikant. There are two kinds of open-ended questions that you asked when you were demonstrating. One is a broad open-ended question, and another is a narrow open-ended question. A narrow open-ended question would be like, what do you mean by acceptance? It's pointed towards that. And the broad open-ended question is, where do you see this conversation going? Something you asked in the middle of the conversation. Right? There are times when the clients ask you to clarify your question, when the question is the broad open-ended question. Because they seem to not understand what's the broad open-ended thing that we are asking. How do you handle those situations?
Many ways to handle it. One is you can reframe the question and simplify it, and ask the client which part of the question did he not understand. Okay. And one more thing, I noticed this from a lot of coaches. They ask a question and they want to explain the question. You don't have to do all of that. Ask the question and keep quiet. The moment you finish the question, the airtime belongs to the client. It doesn't belong to you.
Sure. Thank you.
Lovely. With that, we are at 8 p.m. We formally close the session. I'll pause the recording, and in case there are any few questions, we will address those. But just so for people who have to drop at 8, most welcome. You will be given credit even if you leave the session now.